I had sent a sheet of prayers to Venerable Donor. You have those? Okay. So tonight we will start with a few prayers, just a few. Then, then I'll lead you through a meditation. Last week we didn't actually do that much meditation. But I talked a lot about loving kindness. So I thought tonight we can start with a relatively simple way of cultivating loving kindness, and then I'll continue and explaining more. So is the sound okay? Can you hear me okay? Good, loud enough? Okay. Because things got shifted around here in the last couple of weeks, so I'm just kind of getting used to this new situation. Okay, so some of you are probably accustomed to reciting prayers. If you're not, if you're new to this, and if you don't feel comfortable reciting prayers, that's completely okay. You don't have to. But the idea of reciting prayers is to help ourselves get into a good state of mind before we begin our class tonight. So the first prayer is taking refuge and generating bodhicitta. So this is taking the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, the three jewels of Buddhism, as our source of guidance and inspiration in our practice. So we sort of feel a sense of trust in them and put ourselves under their guidance, their care. And then the bodhicitta part of the prayer is aspiring to become a Buddha ourselves in order to benefit all sentient beings. So having that as our sort of ultimate long-term goal in our study and practice of Buddhism. So we do that 3 times. And if you want, you can imagine the Buddha in front of you. In fact, on the screen behind me is an image of the Buddha. So you could just imagine that the Buddha is in front of you and that you are acknowledging his excellent qualities and saying, yeah, I want to learn from you. I want to become more like you. Something like that. And to do this not just for our own benefit, but for the benefit of all other beings as well. And then the prayer of the 4 immeasurable thoughts. This is what we're learning about in this class, starting with loving kindness, which is expressed in the first line. So I mentioned this is a really helpful prayer to learn, and it's easy to memorize, and then you can recite that and make that into a meditation to help your mind become more positive, have more love and compassion for other beings. So we'll recite that one just once. And then the other prayers, dedication of merit. This is for the end of the class, to close the class. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. Okay, so let's start by doing some relaxation. I will lead you in a guided relaxation to release stress or tension you may have in your body and in your mind. And then we'll do some meditation on the breathing for a short time. And then I will lead a meditation on loving kindness. So that's the sequence that we'll be following. So first of all, put your attention on your body. Feel your body sitting wherever it is. Just kind of quickly do a scan of your body with your mind, your awareness. You could start from the top of your head, and going down through your body. Or if you prefer, you can start with your feet, your toes, and then sweep upwards through your body. Just sort of quickly scan your body, looking out for tension. Just checking to see if there's tightness, tension anywhere in your body. Maybe in your head, your back, shoulders, your stomach, anywhere. And if you do find any tension anywhere in your body, see if you can let it go. Sometimes just saying to yourself, relax, or let go is enough to release the tension. You could also imagine that it melts, becomes like liquid, and then flows out of you down into the earth below and disappears there. So just do the best you can to let go of tension. And if there's some tension that's really stubborn, doesn't want to go away, then that's okay. Just leave it. Just try to be as relaxed and free of tension as possible. And now turn your attention to your breathing. And do this without making any alteration in your breathing. Just let the breath be natural. Let it flow in and out in a natural way. But with your mind, your awareness, be aware of each inhalation of the breath as it's coming in, and exhalation of the breath as it's going out, one breath after another. And do your best to stay focused on the breath without getting distracted to other things like sounds, or thoughts might come up about something from today or any time in the past, or something that you plan to do tonight, tomorrow, or any other time in the future. So leave aside thoughts of the past and the future. Just let your awareness, your attention be in the present moment, being aware of the breath coming in and going out. And if your mind does go away from the breathing, gets distracted to something else, as soon as you realize that, let go of that other thing, that other object, and return your attention to your breathing. And now let's gently move into the loving kindness meditation. So loving kindness is where we wish another person or other person's beings to be happy and have whatever they need in order to be happy, the causes, the conditions for happiness. So it's something we all feel, at least sometimes. And this time we'll just choose one person and imagine them in front of us and then meditate on loving kindness for that person. And it's best to start with someone we already like, we already care about. So bring to mind someone. It could be a family member, a friend, your child if you're a parent, a pet if you have a pet. It's recommended not to think of someone towards whom you have romantic feelings or sexual feelings, because that gets a little messy. So instead, think of someone that you just really care about, and that person is important to you. You're happy when you see them or think about them, and you want to do things to help them and make them happy. So there may be a lot of people you feel that way about, but just choose one person. Think of one person towards whom you have those feelings, and imagine that person is in front of you right now. Try to picture them as clearly as possible. Try to feel they really are there in front of you. And contemplate that this person is basically just like you. They want happiness, they want good experiences, and they don't want sadness, suffering, problems, bad experiences. They just want good experiences. So now generate the wish that this person will have the good experiences that they want. And one way this is normally done is by repeating certain words or phrases to yourself, focusing your mind on that other person, and then saying to yourself things like, "May you be happy." "I wish you to be happy." "May you have whatever you need to be safe and truly happy, peaceful and satisfied." May all your thoughts and actions be positive, and may all your experiences be good ones. So you can use your own words, whatever words resonate with you, help you generate the feeling of loving kindness for this person. Just spend a few moments doing that and try to really have that feeling. Try to really mean the words that you're saying to yourself. And you can also imagine giving the person things that will make them happy, or just imagine them getting the things, having the things that bring them happiness. So you can imagine that, and then imagine them looking happy, radiantly happy, joyful. Okay, so we could put the slides up. I've made some slides for tonight. So what we just did was a traditional meditation to cultivate loving kindness. And this meditation is very popular, well known, especially in Theravada Buddhism, where it's known as metta bhavana. Metta is the Pali word for loving kindness, and bhavana means to cultivate, to grow, to develop that state of mind. So in Lama Tsongkhapa's Lamrim Chenmo, his great exposition of the stages of the path, he talks about meditating on loving kindness in a very similar way, very, very similar. So I think doing this meditation the way we just did is perfect. And so it says, the instructions are, you first bring to mind individuals, starting with those you already have good feelings for. So don't start with, people you can't stand. That wouldn't be very helpful. So start with the easy people. And it doesn't have to be only people, it could also be animals. A lot of people love their animals, love their pets, and sometimes even find it easier to love their pets than people. So you start with easy objects. And it's good to focus on one person at a time rather than a whole group of people, because that way the feeling is much more authentic, much more genuine. If you just think of a whole bunch of people without focusing on individuals, it's the feeling of loving kindness won't be as strong and stable. And so you focus on one person at a time, and then you say to yourself phrases like, may you be happy. So during that meditation, I expressed the phrases that I have come up with that I like. So feel free to experiment and, write your own script, write your own phrases. The point is to wish this person to be happy. And happy, the meaning of happiness here isn't just like, whoopee, this kind of excited, joyful feeling, but it means just having everything they need to be comfortable, like, food and shelter and clothes and medicines, the basic creature comforts. Yeah. So wishing that others will have those things. Yeah. And will be safe, not in danger, not frightened, anxious, terrified, but, in a comfortable situation with a happy state of mind and good conditions in their life. So that's the meaning here. We're wishing others to have those things. It's just kind of common sense in a way. Those are the things we want. And here we understand, well, everybody else wants those things too. And so we wish them to have those things. Yeah. So you can use your own words. You can look at different scripts, like there's lots of meditations on loving kindness you can find online or in books or guided by different teachers, YouTube and so on. So you can, listen to a few, read a few, and then come up with your own. What really resonates with your mind, your thoughts, your feelings. And then third point, it says you can also imagine giving them things or doing things that will make them happy. So that becomes a little bit more intimate, actually giving things to them, or they're getting the things that they need in order to be happy. And then they do experience happiness. You can imagine them looking happy, being happy. So that's the basic practice, and you can spend as much time or as little time as you are able to. And the fourth point there says it's okay if you don't actually feel love. So sometimes people think that when they do a meditation on loving kindness, they should feel it. And of course, ideally, yeah, that's what we're trying to do. We are trying to generate an actual feeling of love or loving kindness, warmth, friendliness, care, concern, whatever word you want to call it. We are trying to generate that feeling, but it may not always happen. Sometimes you do the meditation and you don't feel anything. And that's okay. Yeah, it's okay. You can still do the meditation, even if you don't feel the love. there could be different reasons for that. I mean, some people have difficulty feeling love, right? It doesn't come easy to them. I remember once meeting a man who, he looked like he was maybe in his 60s. And he said he didn't receive love from his mother. I don't remember the story, what happened there, if she just gave him up for adoption or she just wasn't around showing him love or whatever. But anyway, he said it was very hard for him to feel love because he didn't receive it as a child from his mother. So, I mean, that's understandable. I can't imagine what that would be like. My mother was very, very loving. The Dalai Lama often talks about that, that his mother was very loving and he learned from his mother. And that's what they say. They say that, yeah, we learn how to have love and kindness and compassion by receiving it from our mother, our father, our caregivers, yeah, whoever those people are. But they say a child actually needs to receive love, otherwise their brain will not develop properly, and also quite possibly they won't be able to experience love themselves. It will be very difficult for them. I think everyone can experience it, even if you didn't receive it as a child. I think it's possible, but it could be difficult. So for whatever reason, if you do have difficulty feeling love, don't give up. Don't feel like you're a failure, you can't do it. It could just take time. It could be a question of continuing to do the practice, saying the words. It's enough just to say those words and just to try to bring up that feeling. And then after some time, and it could be a long time, it could be years before you actually start feeling it. And that's okay. That's fine. What we're doing here is we're making our mind familiar with this state of mind of love, loving kindness. And in the beginning, it's maybe artificial and forced and not so genuine. But if we keep working at it, then eventually it will become genuine. We will actually feel it. And also you might try different objects. Like one meditation teacher says he recommends using little puppies and kittens. So, most people, when they see a little puppy or a little kitten, they just, they feel all soft inside and they want to pick it up and cuddle it. Yeah. So if you're that kind of person, then you could use them. You use little animals as an object, yeah. Or little kids, yeah. Some people love little kids. So when they see a little kid, they feel all warm and soft and fuzzy inside. So start with objects like that are easy to feel love for. So then the last point says, gradually do the same practice with strangers and those you find difficult, including yourself. So they say, do the practice gradually. Start with easy objects, people and beings you can easily feel love for. Then move on to, once you're more familiar with it, you've done that for a while and you're more familiar with the practice, then move on to strangers. Now, strangers usually means someone we don't have feelings for, someone we feel kind of neutral towards. We don't really like them, we don't really dislike them, just kind of a blah feeling. Okay, so it could be someone we know, like a neighbor, or someone at work. You actually know that person. You might know their name and talk to them sometimes, but you don't have a strong connection with them. So they're a little bit more distant from you. So then move on and do the practice with them. That's a little more difficult, a little more challenging. And but if you keep practicing it, you can also generate this feeling for them. If you think, well, they want to be happy too. They're a human being like me and like all my family and friends, and they want to be happy, and I want them to be happy. How nice that would be if they could be happy. So something like that. Just say to yourself whatever words will help you generate a feeling of loving kindness for that person. And then with more practice, you can start to do it with those you find difficult. So people you find annoying, irritating, you have a hard time liking them. And don't start with the worst one, someone you really hate strongly. Start with those towards whom you have a mild level of dislike or irritation. And then, take on more and more difficult ones. So in this way, if we work gradually from the easier to the more difficult, then the practice will be more successful. And sometimes when this practice is taught, you may have participated in a meditation course and somebody was leading this meditation, and they may have told you to, feel loving kindness for everybody, all living beings. Now, of course, that's our goal. That's what we're aiming for eventually. But to be able to feel that way right from the beginning isn't so realistic, because there's certain people that are really, really hard to have good feelings for. So doing it this way, gradually, starting from easier to more difficult, and then eventually even the very difficult ones, as our mind gets more familiar with the practice, then then we will be able to have those feelings. Now, at the very end, I put including yourself. So, as I mentioned last week, it's not really part of traditional, like Buddhist teachings to generate love and kindness for yourself. But given that many people in the West don't love themselves and even hate themselves, have a lot of hatred, aversion towards themselves, then it's recognized that we do need to include ourselves in the meditation. So there's different ways you could do it. And some teachers would recommend that you start with yourself. First generate loving kindness for yourself, then other people you like, and then strangers and so on. But that may not work because if you have a lot of aversion for yourself, if you have a long-term habit of hating yourself, beating yourself up, and you won't be able to get that feeling of love for yourself at the beginning, and you might even give up the meditation because it's just too hard. So another way you could do it would be to put yourself last. So after you've meditated on loving kindness for others, and you hopefully have some nice, warm, fuzzy feeling for certain people, then try to extend that feeling towards yourself. Think, I'm also a person who wants to be happy, and I deserve to be happy, and I wish myself to be happy. So you can do the same words, use the same words, the same phrases, but about yourself, wishing yourself to have happiness, genuine happiness. So that's one meditation. We'll look at another meditation later, another meditation for cultivating loving kindness. But this is kind of the standard one. And the instructions are pretty simple, but when we actually try to do it, it may not always work. So it can often take time. And if you really want to cultivate it, I think there's some excellent books I can share with you later, titles of books about this topic. And I think also if you go online on YouTube, there's probably lots of guided meditations on loving kindness by different teachers, contemporary teachers. So you could try a few of those and hopefully find one that that works for you. Yeah. But ideally, we learn how to do this on our own so that we can, on our own, generate this feeling of loving kindness. So it's a gradual progression, to generate loving kindness and then extend it to more and more people and beings. Now, it does take energy. It does take time and energy to do this. And if we know the benefits, if we can see the benefits of cultivating loving kindness, we might be more enthusiastic to put in the time and energy. So the next slide lists some of the benefits. Now, in the Buddhist scriptures, most of these benefits are mentioned there, and I've just kind of summarized them, synthesized them. So first is that your mind will be happy and your body will be healthy. So this is something we can see for ourselves. If we look at our mind when we have good feelings, positive feelings, loving feelings for others, what is that state of mind like? As compared to when we're angry and hateful, when we have angry, hateful, negative feelings, what's that like? How does that feel? So I think we can see for ourselves that, yeah, love makes us feel good. It's a beautiful, wonderful feeling. It's good for us. It's good for our mind. It's also good for our body. So there's research on, I'll talk more about that later, but scientific research that's been done in recent years, more on compassion. But compassion and love are very similar. And it's found that, yeah, people who have more compassion have less stress and they're healthier, they live longer. So there's evidence from research that yeah, it is good for us. It's good for us to have loving kindness. And then secondly, others will love, help, and protect you. So, I mean, our purpose in cultivating loving kindness isn't for our own benefit. It's mainly for the benefit of others. But it's helpful to know that we will benefit. Yeah, there are lots of benefits we will experience if we do this. So we'll be loved by others. And I mean, that's something we like. Yeah. It's nice when people love you, care about you, and then they're there for you when you need help. They'll protect you if you're in danger. So that's kind of comfortable, right? It means we have good relations with others. And these are things that we would like to receive from others, and we will if we are caring and loving towards them. If we treat them with love and kindness, then they will reciprocate. We will receive that from them. Third point, you'll sleep well, have pleasant dreams, and wake up refreshed. So if we have a lot of anger, right, when you might remember having such an experience of being angry at somebody, and then you try to go to bed and try to go to sleep, but you can't really get to sleep because your mind is just full of all these angry thoughts and you're sort of tossing and turning. And yeah, so it's difficult to sleep when you have anger in your mind. On the other hand, when you have loving thoughts, if you cultivate positive, loving, caring thoughts towards others and, are on good terms with others, then your mind will be at ease when you go to bed. You'll sleep well. Your dreams will be pleasant rather than nightmares. And then in the morning you wake up refreshed. The next point is, says you look radiant and relaxed, and you're able to communicate easily with others. So the appearance we have when we have this kind of state of mind, this attitude of love and kindness, it's kind of radiant and relaxed and peaceful. Now, again, that's not something we should be attached to. It's not like we want to be beautiful, but it's good in the sense that then people will be attracted to us. And on the Bodhisattva path, this is what we want. We want to be able to help people and share the Dharma with them, and help them be happier and have less suffering. So it's important that they are comfortable with us, right? We don't want to look scary and scare them away. So we want them to be attracted to us. So if we have this appearance where we're smiling, radiant, relaxed, people will be attracted to us, and then we can help them. And then our ability and we'll be able to communicate more easily with others. Lama Yeshe was a great communicator. He could communicate with almost anybody, even like my parents. He met my parents, and my parents were just completely blown away. Not Buddhist at all, but they just loved Lama Yeshe because he was such a good communicator. Put them at ease, made them feel good. So this is coming from loving kindness. And then the next one is calm mind, better concentration, more efficient. So with loving kindness, our mind is naturally more calm and peaceful, not agitated with anger and aversion and irritation and so on. So it helps our mind to be more calm. And then when we meditate, it will be easier to meditate. Yeah, because developing concentration is really important in Buddhism. It's like an important quality we need to progress along the path. We need to be able to concentrate our mind. And if we have a lot of anger and irritation and impatience, then it will be harder to concentrate because we're constantly being distracted by things and irritated about things and nervous about things. And so then that interrupts concentration. And whether it's concentration in meditation or in other things like work that you're doing or studying that you're doing. So when we can concentrate, then we'll be more efficient. We'll be able to get things done more efficiently rather than being agitated by anger and impatience. So you can look at your own experience of that. If you're trying to do something and your mind you're angry at somebody, you're impatient, then probably doesn't go very well. But when you're calm and peaceful and concentrate, then it works better. Next is having a peaceful and clear mind at the time of death and a good rebirth in the next life. So we're going to die one of these days, and I think we would all like to have a peaceful mind at the time of death and not angry. It's possible. People sometimes are angry when they're dying. I don't want to die. Why am I dying? The doctors didn't do the right thing, and I wish this person wasn't in the room. I wish they would get lost. So there could be lots of things to get angry about at the time of death, and that's not a good way to die. I think you can imagine. Much better to be calm and peaceful and to have loving feelings of love and kindness and care towards all the people around us. So if we're familiar with loving kindness during our life, then it will be easy and natural to have those thoughts and feelings as we die. And then that's a good state of mind to have at the time of death. And then our next life, the next rebirth, will be a good one. A positive state of mind at the time of death ripens good karma that will be the cause of a rebirth in a good situation in the next life. So during our life, right up to the end of our life, there'll be a lot of benefits from cultivating loving kindness. And Western research confirms many of these. Just to mention one book you might be interested in, it's called A Fearless Heart. It's by Thupten Jinpa, translator of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. And he and some people at Stanford University developed what they call, I think it's called compassion training program, some kind of training program to train professionals, especially like doctors, nurses, and so on, in compassion. And this book, A Fearless Heart, kind of tells the story of how that that project came about and some of the main features of that project. And in that book, it mentions some of the benefits that have been found through research into compassion. So yeah, they just affirm the ones that the Buddha mentioned. You'll be healthier, you'll have less stress, you'll get along better with other people, and so on. So it's good for us to generate loving kindness, and it's also good for others, good for society, good for everybody. And one of the benefits that they found in the Western research is that kindness is contagious. So when one person does an act of kindness, other people see it or hear about it, and they feel inspired to also act in a kind way. And that's really beautiful when you think about it. It's kind of like a ripple effect. You know, one act of kindness will influence other people doing acts of kindness, and then they will in turn influence others, and so on and so on and so forth. So we might have 100 or several hundred acts of kindness coming as a result of one that starts with. So it's good to contemplate these, check them out, investigate them for ourselves as much as you can. And if you can see that, yeah, it's true that having loving kindness, is good for me, good for others, then that will give you more enthusiasm to work on cultivating it. So, but unfortunately, there are some things in the way of cultivating loving kindness. So the next slide talks about these. And these also are mentioned in the Buddhist scriptures. They use the term enemy. I just have to take a Tibetan pill, so excuse me. I'll chew this and swallow it. So these are states of mind that are like opposite to loving kindness and interfere with it, but they're not permanent fixtures in our mind. They're temporary, transitory, and we can overcome them. And so it's true with each of the four immeasurables. Each of the four immeasurables has an enemy. There's a far enemy and a near enemy. So the far enemy is the opposite state of mind, the exact opposite. So the far enemy for loving kindness is hatred. And there's different degrees of that, like anger, aversion, irritation, and so on. So I think even a mild feeling of dislike or irritation is a kind of hatred. It's not like full-blown hatred. You're not necessarily planning to kill the person, but it's not conducive for having love and loving kindness and compassion. So look out for those states of mind. And we had some discussion last week about this. Towards the end of class, somebody brought up corporations who act in ways that or inappropriate and harmful. So there's always somebody or some group towards whom we feel angry, maybe even hatred. We may even have hatred. And so as long as that kind of attitude is in our mind, then we can't feel loving kindness. It just completely blocks our loving kindness. But we can do something about it. There are things we can do to overcome anger, hatred. So there's just a few mentioned here, but there are others. So the first remedy is to recognize how painful it is. Yeah. So if we can see that this state of mind of anger, hatred, irritation, aversion, that it's really painful. It's not a pleasant state of mind. It doesn't feel good when you're in that state of mind. And so do you really want to feel that way? Do you want to continue feeling that way? Do you want to perpetuate that kind of feeling? Yeah. So if you can recognize that this is a negative state of mind, this is not a healthy state of mind, this is not a state of mind I want to perpetuate and feed and allow to take over my mind. And then you'll come to see it as like a disease or like an aberration, something you want to avoid rather than get into and feed. So even if there's a situation where your anger, your hatred is triggered, but you'll have this sense to say, no, I don't want to go there. I don't want to feel that way. That is not helpful. That's not the way I want to be. So this is really important, really important. And it's something that, it takes time. You have to look at your mind, you look at your experiences, look at the results of anger and hatred. What do they lead to? Do they lead to anything good, anything beneficial? Or do they just lead to more suffering and problems? So look at that for yourself. Investigate that for yourself. And hopefully you'll come to the conclusion that, no, this is not something I want. And then you'll want to overcome it. You want to change it when it does arise. So the second remedy is try to understand the other's point of view. So this is a really helpful way to counteract anger. It's like that expression we have, put yourself in the other person's shoes. Yeah, try to understand that other person. Why are they behaving that way? Yeah, what are the causes and conditions for the person to be doing what they're doing, behaving the way they are? And you can apply Buddhist understanding to that, like, oh, well, they have a lot of afflictions in their mind. They have greed, hatred, ignorance, and karma. Yeah. So they're not really in control of themselves, but rather their mind is being controlled by those factors: ignorance, greed, hatred, karma. Those are the cause of suffering. Those are what the Buddha pointed out as the cause of suffering. And we all have them in our mind. Some may have them more than others, but these, they make us suffer. They keep us stuck in samsara, unable to attain nirvana and enlightenment. So if you think about that, then, instead of feeling angry at the person, you'll feel compassion for them. You feel the person's really in a sad situation. It's really sad. And they're suffering now because of these afflictions in their mind, and they'll probably suffer more in the future because of the karma they're creating. If they are doing negative things under the influence of afflictions, then they're going to suffer more in the future. So that's one way you could think about that, or also just in an ordinary sense, without bringing in the Buddhist ideas, but maybe the person is just really upset about something. Maybe there's bad things happening in their life. Maybe they lost their job, they have a child that's sick, or their mother's dying, or they were just diagnosed with cancer. So there might be some really awful things happening in their life right now that put them in this state of mind where they're behaving that way. Yeah. So if we make an effort to understand where the person's coming from, what's going on with them, then our anger, our irritation might disappear. And instead we realize, oh, this person needs help. Yeah. I want to help them. What can I do to help them? So that's another method that is helpful. Just understand the other person's point of view. And then the third one here is, it says, notice the tendency to focus on the negative and learn to notice the positive. That probably doesn't make much sense, but what I'm trying to say there is, when we have anger or hatred or irritation for some other person, if you check your mind, you might recognize that you are focusing on just certain things about the person, certain attributes or behaviors or whatever, just certain things about the person. You're focusing on those things you don't like, things you find annoying, you're judgmental, critical about them. And you're kind of ignoring other things about the person that might be very positive. And this is actually what happens in our mind when there's anger or hatred or aversion. That state of mind is just focusing, honing in on certain things about the person, and then, ignoring anything else that might be good, might be positive, might be worthy of respect. And we're just kind of, and exaggerating, the mind sort of exaggerates those negative qualities and overlooks, ignores positive ones. So you need to look at your mind, you need to watch your mind to see, to notice this. But if you can recognize that this is what your mind is doing, then you can counteract it by deliberately focusing on positive things. I'll just give you an example to illustrate this that might make it more clear. One time when I was in a Dharma center, working in a Dharma center, and there was one woman who was also helping out in the Dharma Center. She was very good at fundraising. And but sometimes she would behave in a somewhat childish way. She'd sort of throw a tantrum. And, if people didn't do what she wanted or didn't agree with her, she'd sort of throw a tantrum and then say, I'm going to quit. I'm leaving. And then everybody would try to pacify her. So I sometimes found myself very annoyed at this person, and yeah, I even got into a little bit of a conflict with her at one point. And then I realized afterwards that, there were so many good things about her. And in fact, and many things she did that were helpful for me, many ways that she was helpful to me, kind to me, and so on and so forth. But in the moment when I was feeling angry or annoyed with her, it's like I completely forgot about all those other things, and I was only focusing on this one behavior, or this tendency that she had to be kind of childish. And so that, for me, made it really clear, this mind, the tendency our mind has to do that. And so, so if you can recognize that your mind is doing that, then you can deliberately bring to mind things about the person that are good, that are positive, good things that they have done, good qualities that they have. They definitely are, they're there. Nobody is 100% bad 100% of the time. Everyone has some good qualities and does good things. So deliberately focus on those, bring those to mind. And that can help to cool down anger, aversion, and so on. So these are just a few remedies. There's a lot more, especially in, Shanti Deva's Guide to the Bodhisattva Way of Life, Chapter 6. If you ever have a chance to read that or study that, there's many, many, many very helpful methods for dealing with anger. Okay, next is, so that's the sorry, I haven't finished that slide yet. Please go back. Okay, so that was the far enemy. The far enemy of loving kindness is hatred. And then the near enemy, so a near enemy means a state of mind that it kind of resembles loving kindness, but it isn't really. Yeah, and we can easily mistake it for loving kindness. So the near enemy of loving kindness is attachment. And some people actually think attachment and love are the same thing. They don't see any difference between them. But in Buddhism, loving kindness is focused on the other person. We care about the other person. We want them to be happy. We want to do what will bring them happiness. So it's more about the other person, ideally. Whereas attachment is more about me. Our concern is more about my happiness and what we can get from that person to fulfill my needs, my wishes, make me happy. And so we tend to get attached to people and beings that make us feel good, that do what we want them to do and treat us the way we want them to be treated and so on. So that's attachment. It's more self-centered, whereas love is more other-centered. So we need to be able to recognize the difference between these two in our experience, in our relationships. And it's not easy. Yeah, and I think probably most of our relationships with family, friends, and so on, there's a mixture of love and attachment. So we have to kind of watch our mind and recognize the difference, and then try to increase the love and decrease the attachment. The attachment is one of the afflictions. It's one of the delusions that keeps us in the state of suffering. So some remedies for attachment, if when we recognize it, one is just to see how it is unrealistic and it disturbs our mind. Unrealistic in the sense that, we tend to fantasize. When we have a lot of attachment for a person or an object, we tend to get into fantasies. Oh, how happy I will be if only I could have a relationship with that person. And then we imagine having these conversations and doing these things together and so on and so on. And then we'll live happily ever after. And most of that is unrealistic. It's not going to happen. You probably know. We've all been through that. But it tends to exaggerate the other person, focus only on the good qualities and ignore any faults they may have. And then in the end, we end up getting disappointed, let down, disappointed because the person isn't the way we thought they were. So just to recognize how, attachment sort of cheats me. It doesn't tell the truth. And it also disturbs our mind. When there's attachment, our mind gets very agitated with all these fantasies, all these expectations that may not turn out to be realistic, turn out to be true. So it's a disturbing state of mind. So just to recognize what attachment is and what it does to our mind, what it does to our life, and also to our spiritual practice. If we want to progress along the path and attain nirvana and enlightenment, attachment is a big hindrance. It really keeps us stuck in samsara. Doesn't allow us to be free. And then the next one is to reflect on impermanence. So this is a really, really helpful antidote for attachment. It's because when we have attachment for a person or an object, we want them to be there forever. We want them to never change. We want them to always be the way they are right now, loving and kind, and we have good times together, and so on and so forth. And that's just not realistic. It's not the way things are. Yeah, things are changing every minute, every second. Our bodies are changing, our minds are changing, the world is changing. Nothing stays the same from one moment to the next. So just getting used to the impermanent nature of things, the changing nature of things, and getting comfortable with that, learning to be comfortable with impermanence. So that is a really helpful way to overcome attachment. And then, so those are the two enemies mentioned in the Buddhist scriptures. But I think another obstacle is self-centeredness, like being selfish. Like, I am more important than everybody else. You know, I am the center of the universe. Everything revolves around me. So I think it's kind of obvious that if we have strong self-centeredness, strong selfishness, then that makes it difficult to have genuine loving kindness. Because instead of having loving kindness, caring about others, wanting them to be happy, wanting to do what we can to make them happy, we'll be seeing others as what they can do for me, what I can get out of them. And as long as they do what I want them to do, then fine, I'll be nice to them. But as soon as they do what I don't want them to do, or they don't do what I do want them to do, they go against my wishes, my needs, then I don't love them anymore. Okay, which is often what happens in relationships, yeah? And this is due to being overly self-centered and caring about ourselves more than others. So this is another obstacle we need to look out for. And the Dalai Lama, I mean, it's difficult to stop having selfishness. It's such a deep habit in our mind. And he talks about being wisely selfish. You may have heard about this or read about this. He says, if you're going to be selfish, be wisely selfish, meaning that if you want to be happy, you're concerned about yourself and your own happiness. And if you do want to be happy, the best way to be happy is by caring for others, having kindness, compassion for others. If you make others happy, you will be happy. So he says, this is the best way to be selfish. Be wisely selfish. Care about others. Yeah. Bring genuine peace and happiness to yourself and others. So, yeah. So again, loving kindness, if we can cultivate more loving kindness and compassion, then that will probably help us to be less self-centered. This habit of self-centeredness will decrease. And we'll probably feel a lot better about ourselves, and others will feel good as well. We're bringing them peace and happiness. So I did have one more slide. Maybe I'll just start talking about it, but we won't be able to finish it because it's kind of a big topic. But this is another way of cultivating loving kindness, and it is by contemplating the kindness of others. Okay, so in the Tibetan tradition, there's a meditation on the kindness of the mother. because mothers are considered the sort of best example of loving kindness, unconditional love and kindness. So mothers who give birth to children and really love their children, and it's like a full-time job taking care of a small baby, a small child, especially the first few months, first year. And yeah, they put so much time, so much energy into taking care of their baby. And they don't get much in return, although they would, most mothers would say, oh no, it's so rewarding. I'm so happy. But they don't get a salary, right? It's like volunteer work. No salary, no perks. um, but it's really just love. Yeah. It's the love of their child that enables them to put all that energy in. And so we've been on the receiving end of that. Most of us don't remember being a little kid, being a baby, but we were. And so it's really helpful to contemplate that, to imagine ourselves as a small baby and what our mother did for us. All the time and energy she put into taking care of us, feeding us, holding us, because, babies want attention. And so spending time with us, playing, talking, and then bathing us, changing our dirty diapers several times a day, getting up in the middle of the night because we're crying and we're hungry, and just on and on and on and on, all the things that our mother has done for us. So this is one example of the kindness of others, but there's so many others as well. We received kindness from our father, grandparents, aunts, uncles, anyone else who was like a caregiver at that time in our life when we were really small and helpless. And then teachers when we went to school. We like to complain about our teachers in our school, but what if we didn't have the chance to go to school? Yeah, life would be quite hard if we had never gone to school. So they do a very important job we benefited from. And then so many other ways as well, like all the food that we eat, all the drinks, the clothing we wear, the house or apartment we live in, all the furniture and appliances and devices and public transportation and gas and electricity and on and on and on and on. Everything in our life that we use and enjoy, it comes from others. There are other people who produce those things, provide them to us, and we benefit from them. So this is just a little bit, and I'll talk more next week because I did want to leave you some time to ask questions. But we'll start next week with the meditation on this, the kindness of others. So this is a really helpful way of generating loving kindness, because when we realize the kindness we have received from others, it opens up our heart. It awakens our own loving kindness. So we naturally want to treat them with kindness in return. It's just like, if you're having a hard time, you need help, somebody comes along and helps you, you just feel so grateful, and then you just feel like, what can I do for you? Right? Like, it's just a natural response. When we realize what someone has done for us, we naturally want to do something for them. And what I have on this slide is a quotation from a text by Nagarjuna. It's not a very well-known text. It's called A Tale of a Wish-Fulfilling Dream. And this verse is quite amazing. If those of you who are familiar with Tibetan Buddhism, there's a lot of talk about how every being has been our mother, like in all our past lives. other beings have also been our mothers and shown us kindness. So he talks about that in the beginning. He says, not just once did I reside in every womb, meaning, you know, in if I look back in my past lives, I have been in the womb of every person. Every single sentient being has played the role of my mother in past lives. This is hard to believe. I know it's a challenge, but this is what it says in the teachings. The Buddha himself said it. It was said by the Buddha. So if you trust the Buddha, then yeah, think about it. So everyone has been our mother in our past lives, and it means everyone has been kind to us. But then the next two lines are interesting. He says, nor is there a single sentient being who did not reside in my womb. So this is turning it around. Not only has everybody been my mother, but I have been the mother of everybody. And that's really, I find that really amazing to think about. Like, everybody has been my child. I have played the role of mother towards every sentient being. And that means I had incredible love, kindness, compassion for each and every sentient being. So I have also been their mother. And then he concludes, therefore, we are all family, right? Now, this is a very difficult point, but if you just think about the ramifications of that, there's no such thing as a stranger. We have all been each other's mothers and children. We have all had this incredibly intimate relationship with everybody. So it's an amazing meditation that can really help to engender a sense of closeness towards others, and then naturally wanting to treat them with kindness in return, repay their kindness. So I'll stop there, and we will continue with that topic next week. But I did want to leave time if anyone has any questions you'd like to ask. Jay.
So, just two comments, one of which following up on last week. It's like the folks that I feel unhappy about in corporations, part of the reason they are the way they are is because they have held on to anger. So, so that I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be them. So, in a sense, they're teaching me how not to be. Yeah. And I appreciate that. And the other comment I'll make is I want to apologize because I've clearly not nurtured some of my children very well because they turned out badly. And
Oh,
I'll try to do better next time. That has occurred to me, I'm afraid.
I see. Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't know the details of your life, but children also have their own karma. And even parents who really do the absolute best they can to raise their children in certain ways with certain qualities, certain values, and so on. Sometimes the children can still turn out, like criminals or not so ideal. And they have their karma. We are not like the creators of our children, but we just give them the chance to have a life. But they come into this is the Buddhist view. They come into this world with a mind full of their own karma and tendencies from past lives. And so, I mean, we just do I'm not a parent, but if I was a parent, then I would just do my best to give them good guidance and so on. But if they choose to go in some other direction, that's not my fault or my responsibility. That's just a short view of that. But this is, yeah, from the Buddhist point of view, each person Every individual has their karma that that's a big factor in what kind of personality they have, what kind of direction they go in their life. Anyway, any other question? Oops, what happened? Oh, sorry, the screen just went off and I thought I lost the meeting. So well, if you do have questions that you think of between now and next week, you can send them into the center to Venerable Dundrope, I guess, and then he can send them to me, and then I can answer them next time. So if you can't think of something now, but you do think of something later, then you will have that opportunity to get your question asked and answered, hopefully. Okay, so yeah, they're in the chat. There's the email address, spc@tnlsf.org. Very simple. So if we could have the prayers back on the screen, and we'll dedicate the merit, the positive energy we've created here together tonight. So the idea of dedication of merit is that when we do something positive, something virtuous, we create merit, which is like positive energy. And this is the cause for spiritual growth, the cause for happiness, good experiences. So it's good that we share this merit with others. Just like at the beginning, we had the wish to benefit others as our reason for being here. So we remember that now and then share the merit with other beings, with all living beings, wishing that it will be the cause for us all to reach enlightenment. And then we also pray for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama and the quick return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Due to the merits of these virtuous actions, may I quickly attain the state of a Guru Buddha and lead all living beings without exception into that enlightened state. May the supreme jewel bodhicitta that has not arisen arise and grow, and may that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-fulfilling, wish-granting jewel, source of every benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. There's one more prayer down, scroll. There should be one more prayer on the bottom. No? Is that the last one? Please scroll up. There was maybe I made a boo-boo. Yeah, there was supposed to be a prayer for the quick return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche, but maybe it got cut off somehow. Okay.
I can find it if you'll wait just 1 second, Venerable.
Oh, it should have been on one page, one whole page. It don't fit on one page. Not there?
No, but I can find it
No,
somewhere
no, no.
else.
It's okay.
Okay.
We can just mentally dedicate that Lama Zopa Rinpoche will return as quickly as possible, be amongst us again, and may everything go well in the education of his new incarnation, and so that he can continue to teach and guide sentient beings on the path to enlightenment. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. And thank you, Sila,
Thank
for
you.
hosting.
Thank you, Venerable. Thank you.